it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 10 of my 2024 Valentine Card Series. Today I'm going to be making some heart pouch treat bags using Lawn Fawn's Scent with Love and the Scent with Love add-on. So I've stamped those images out on Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth Premium White cardstock with Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, and I'll be coloring with my Copic markers. So I'm starting with the black part of my skunk's bodies, and for those I'll be using N3, N5, and N7. So I'm starting with the N7 on this first little guy, and I do know that skunks have the white stripe on top of their heads, but I just wanted to mix it up and do each of them a little bit different since I'm coloring so many of the same critter. So I decided to do some of them with the black on top and some of them with the white on top. So for this little couple, I'm going to do my shading on both of them at the same time, starting with that N7 and laying in the shadows. And I'm going to do them on opposite sides of their bodies so that I can keep their faces nice and light. So the one that's facing toward the right will get his shadows on the left. The one that's facing toward the left gets her shadows on the right. So once I have that N7 laid in, I'm going to start blending out with the N5. You could, of course, go darker if you wanted to. You could go with the N9 or even use the 110 marker, which is the black marker. But I really like the dark grays. I like my critters to have a bit more personality and for you to be able to see all of their features, especially on the parts where you're covering their faces with the darker colors. I just want to make sure that they don't get lost because then it's really hard to make out their personalities, and they're so cutely drawn that I just don't want to cover that up. So that's especially where I'm going to bring in that N3 and go over the area around the eye and the mouth so that you can see everything very clearly. But I think that N7 does add in a nice bit of darkness, so they still read as black even though they are technically dark gray. So in my original idea for this video, I was actually going to only make one of the heart pouch treat bags, and that is why I stamped out the images that you just saw me color. That was the design that I had originally laid out, but then the more I thought about it, I wanted to make a bag for each of my kids because I thought, what am I going to do with this little bag? I don't have just one person to give this to, so why not make 3 and then I can give them to my sons for Valentine's Day. So I quickly came up with 2 more designs. Thankfully, we have so many cute skunks between the Scent with Love and the Scent with Love add-on stamps that I was able to come up with multiple designs. So I can do each one of them a little bit different, which I think just makes it more interesting, especially when you're going to do multiples of something. Also, it gave me more opportunities to color these images in different ways. So the one you just saw me coloring was facing completely forward. So I did his shadows differently, falling on both the left and the right equally, except for his tail, which was over toward the right. I just put it on the underside of the tail anyway. It didn't really matter which direction. If the tail had been to the left, I still would have put my shadows in the exact same place, except for just that little bit close to the body on the right, which would have then been on the left. And then this couple that is hugging, I'm going to do as I did the first couple, just depending on the direction that their bodies are facing. And I also did switch and do one with the black stripe on the top and the lighter face, and then one with the traditional white stripe on the top. Again, just to mix it up. I think it looks cute, and they don't always have to be exactly realistic. So I did forget to add some shading to that one little hand that was wrapped around the skunk that is in front's back. So I will go back and add a little bit of N7 to the bottom of that, but for now I just went straight in with my N5. But I think this is a cute theme, especially for your boys, if you're giving this to some boys, because I don't know about you guys, but my kids can be little stinkers, and so I Love them very, very much with all of my heart, but I think the skunk theme just kind of fits with the boys. So anyway, that's what I decided to go with for them. Once I have all of the black parts colored in, I'm actually going to do the white parts with some creamy shades. So I'm going to use E000 with E40 and E41. And I will also leave some white cardstock because I do want this to look white, but I just want there to be a little bit of shading to give them some definition. So I'm starting with the E41 on all of these, and then adding a little bit of E40 to blend that out. Just going in wherever I think the shadows should go, kind of based on where I already put the dark shadows on the black parts of their body. And then I'm going to use that E000 to blend that out even further. And then, as I said, leave a bit of white space so that it still looks white. And then I'll go in with my second panel and do the same thing. So I'm very curious to know if you give your kids Valentines for Valentine's Day. I have always done this. Always just something little, because I know that the holiday is meant to be more between you and your significant other, but I've just always given my kids like a little tiny heart-shaped box of chocolates or a little package of their favorite candy or whatever. So I normally don't give them a card, but I thought this heart pouch would be something cute that they could just have and hang on to if they want to. But yeah, I'm curious to know if I'm in the minority here, giving my kids something for Valentine's Day. So definitely comment down below and let me know. Next, I'm going to come in and use some pinks to give my skunks some rosy cheeks, color the insides of their ears and their noses. I'm using R000 and R20. I'm so happy to have my R20 back again. It has been super dry for such a long time, but I finally did a marker maintenance night last night and got all of my markers refilled, and then ordered refills this morning for any of the markers that needed them. So yeah, I'm all filled up now with as much as I could. I did want to bring in R22 as well on the darker colored skunks because the R20 wasn't showing up very well. And then I blended out with the R20. While I have these colors out, I'm also going to do the wrapper on my little bonbon, starting at the bottom with the R22 and blending up toward the top. And I'll bring in my second panel and do one of the little trio of hearts, starting with the R22 down at the bottom right and blending toward the top left. You could pick either side. It's just comfort for me being left-handed to blend toward the left, but you could definitely switch it if you wanted to. Then I'm going to keep that R22 and bring in R24 and R29. I'm going to do the little heart on top of the bonbon and the two little bows. I'll do all three of those at once since they're super small and really close to each other. I'll blend out the R29 with the R24 and then use the R22 for the highlight. And then I'm also going to do the balloon with these shades. And again, just adding the darkest down at the bottom right and blending toward the top left. No particular reason for that except for just how comfortable it is for me. So that's typically what I did. My R24 felt like it might leak since it is freshly filled, so I just pulled off the other cap to equalize the pressure. That usually takes care of the issue, and you can see that I was able to continue coloring with it with no issues. So I will use these three shades for the strawberry and also the other trio of hearts. I wanted most of my little accessory images to be red with just a few little pops of pink, just to keep the color palette very simple and very Valentine's Day. I'm also going to do the big heart with the little lace edge with this combo as well. I'm being careful where I place that darkest shade, the R29, because I do want to make sure that you can still read the Happy Valentine's Day sentiment that I stamped in there. There's a bunch of different sentiments that you can mix and match, or you can leave it plain if you wanted to, but I decided to go ahead and stamp this one in there. I'm going to switch to E44, E47, and E49 and do my bonbon and also the chocolate part of my chocolate dipped strawberry. So starting with the E49 down at the bottom and blending out with the E47, and then using the E44 for the highlight. I think this looks like dark chocolate, which happens to be my favorite kind of chocolate. And then for the strawberry cap, I used YG13 and YG17. And then for the lace around the heart, I just decided to go back to that R000 to add a little bit of shading to that. So it still kind of looks white, but just has a bit of definition to it. Then I grabbed a black Sakura Jelly Roll pen, and I'm going to get that going off to the side and go over the eyes of my skunk that's facing forward. It's just the one. And then I will trim these images out with their matching dies. Next, I'm going to die cut the main part of my heart pouch. So I took a piece of ballet slippers, 8.5 by 11 cardstock, cut that in half at the 5.5 mark. So it would be the same size as a panel I would use to make a standard A2 size card. And from that panel, I was able to get both pieces that make up the heart pouch. So you need to die cut 2 of this main section. Then I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine a second time, adding the heart pouch dotted hearts add-on and taping that in place so that it will add all of those little stitched hearts and just give it a little bit of texture. I'm only going to do it on the front, so I did it on just one of the panels. Then I'm going to start folding in all of those little tabs and pressing them down with my Lawn Fawn Teflon coated bone folder to make sure that those folds are nice and crisp. This is going to ensure that my box comes together really smoothly and everything really fits together as it should. So I'm taking my time to go ahead and do that first. I think it really does make a big difference, especially if you're using thicker cardstock like I am. The Lawn Fawn cardstock is a very heavyweight, good quality cardstock. It works great for cards, but also putting together these little boxes and things because they're going to be nice and sturdy. So once I have all of my creases done, I'm going to trim off the short tab on one of the panels. It doesn't really matter which one, either will work. I did it on the front, but the way that it comes together, it wouldn't make a difference. So then I'm going to take some 1/4 inch score tape and line that on both tabs on the one that still has 2, and then just on the long side for the one that we trimmed off the shorter tab from. So both of the long tabs, one of the shorter tab. Then I can peel off those release papers. This is always the tricky part for me, trying to grab the edge of that score tape. But yeah, this tape is very, very strong, and it's going to really ensure that your box stays together. And it also comes together a lot more quickly than if you were using like a wet adhesive. That would require some drying time, and then you'd want to wait before you put your candy in there for sure. So now I'm just going to fit these two pieces together, and the way that I remember that it goes together is that it kind of forms a dragonfly facing with the tail away from you and then the wings on either side. And then you can just start to fold this up. It's very intuitive, like it comes together really, really quickly and easily once you have those main two pieces put together. So the little tabs are going to fold in, and that is how your treat box is going to be formed. So now I'm going to decorate my boxes, and I'm going to take some pattern paper from the Fruit Salad 6x6. I'm going to do this pink gingham print, and all I'm using is just a corner of that paper. And I'll add some liquid glue to the bottom of that and then fit that into the point of the heart. So just adjusting that until it's on there nice and straight, and then pressing that down into place. Then I die cut this little strip of like a lace with the little hearts cut into it from the Heart Pouch die set, and I did that out of white cardstock, and I'm going to add that to the top edge of that pattern paper, so the pattern paper hearts are going to peek through. So I'm just lining that up at the bottom. This is actually meant to decorate the sides of your box, but I wanted to use it on the front just to break up all of that pink cardstock and also give my images a place to stand. So I just thought that would be a fun detail. So I'm going to glue that on and then let it dry for a little bit. And then once it has dried, I'll take my Cutter Bee Teflon coated scissors and just trim off any excess. So I've done all 3 of my treat boxes, and now I'm ready to start decorating them. So I'm going to grab my images and start laying them out, because I actually only laid out the images for the original idea, and then once I decided that I was going to make 3 of them, I just stamped out a few more images so that I would be able to decorate the other 2 as well. But I didn't actually lay them out ahead of time as I typically do. If you've watched any of my Plan a Card With Me videos, you'll know how I like to lay out all of my supplies ahead of time and come up with my card concepts that way. So anyway, I only did that for the one that is in the center. So the other 2, I'm just going to play around and add images as I see fit. So the original idea, I wanted to have the 2 little skunks kind of coming in from either side, and then they're each going to be holding on to some things, so I'll add those in just a second. But I thought I would go ahead and get all of the skunks adhered down first. And then the skunk that is facing forward, since he's all by himself, I thought I would give him that larger heart to kind of take up the space that a second skunk would have. So once I have them all adhered, I'm just making sure that I'm still going to be able to access the 2 little holes there, so I'll be able to string my cord through in the end. But now I'm going to go ahead and add on the rest of my accessory images. So this little guy on the left of the center box is going to be holding onto the heart balloon. And then the other skunk, I'm going to give this little heart-topped bonbon. So I'm tilting that into her hand so it doesn't cover up her face. I think that looks really cute. I'm going to add a little trio of hearts above the Happy Valentine's Day heart on the one on the left. And then I was kind of playing around with the placement for the other trio of hearts. I didn't quite figure that out. I decided to add a little bow to the ear of one of the hugging skunks, just to add a little extra pop of color on that image. And then the other bow I'm going to add to the skunk that is facing forward, again to just kind of add a little extra detail. I did want to mention that this was my very first time putting these little heart pouches together. I just went for it on screen. I did not practice ahead of time at all. So it might be easier to add your images and details on before you put the box together while everything is still flat. But I did not have a problem doing it this way at all. It was very easy to put together. So you can kind of play around with it and see which way is better for you, but I like to see it in the shape that it's going to be, so that's why I decided to do it at the end. To add a little bit of a sentiment to these, I took the XOXO pieces. There's 3 pieces in this die set. There's the base part with the embossed letters. There's the extra letters that I'm placing on top. And then there's also a little hole reinforcer, which you can add or not, depending if you want to. So I'm just putting those together now. It's very easy to see where everything should go. I'm holding those with my EK Success reverse tweezers and then using my Barely Art Precision Craft Glue to adhere those down. So I'll just add that last little hole reinforcer, which fits so nicely in that little spot. There are all 3 of those. And then I'm going to fill these with some candy. So I've got some Sweet Tarts Conversation Hearts. I like that these have the little words on them, which make them very nostalgic for Valentine's Day. But hopefully they taste better than the Conversation Hearts. I don't know if you're a fan, but I'm not really a fan of the taste of those, and my kids aren't either. But everybody likes kind of sour sweet stuff in my house, so that's why I went and bought these. So I'm just filling up these boxes. I wasn't sure how many they would hold, so I started with just a little handful at first. I did end up filling them a bit more once I saw that they actually hold quite a bit. And then some of that candy powder came out on my desk, so I just cleaned that up. And then I'm taking some lawn trimmings twine. This is the Sweetheart twine that is a mix of red, pink, and white. And I will tie these boxes together. So I'm just taking my craft pick and punching the holes in each of the parts of the box and then threading my twine through. So you're going to run it to the back first. All the way through, all going towards the back on the left side, and then you'll feed it back through on the back on the right, and then forward through all the rest of the holes to the front. And it did start to unravel a bit for me, so I made sure to cut it long so I would have enough if I needed to trim it, and then I could just feed it through the holes, and if it started to get caught, I could trim off a little bit more and feed it through again. So once I have that all the way through, I'm just going to pull it to the front. It's going to bring those little arms down, which are going to close up the box. Before I tie it, I'm going to take one of my little XOXO tags and add that on one of the sides. You can do it left or right. It actually reads better on the right hand side. And then I'll just put a little knot in there and tie a simple bow. I will adjust the loops by tugging on the ends and getting a length that I like, and then I will trim off any of the excess twine that I don't need. So there is that one, and I did one off screen, but I thought I would just show you on one last one to make sure that you were able to see that up close. This one I held up to the camera a little bit better. So again, I'm just feeding that through all of the holes. It's a good idea to punch them ahead of time. I did not do that, and so it was a little bit slower going than it would have been if I had punched them out. But they're very easy to punch out with any kind of little sharp tool. And so it's all the way to the back on the left and then all the way to the front on the right, just feeding it through each of those individual holes. So you want to just squeeze that together, those little side pieces that have like two parts. Squeeze that together and then you can fit it through all at once, or you can do it one at a time, either way. All the way to the front again, and then this one I am actually going to add the XOXO on the left just because I didn't want to cover up that little trio of hearts on the right. But then the tag is kind of upside down, so you can, add it whichever way you want. But I just thought it fit better on that side for this particular design that I did, so that's what I did. But yeah, I'm just going to adjust those loops once again by tugging on the tails and getting that to a length that I like, and then trimming off any excess. So now you can see it reads OXOX. So it still makes sense, but typically we do say XOXO. But anyway, there is an up-close look at all three of those treat boxes. I hope that my kids are going to really enjoy them, and I hope that you enjoyed them too. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button and leave me a comment down below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell if you want to be alerted when I post new videos. All of the products I use will be listed and linked down below in case you'd like to pick up anything for yourself. And I've added 2 more videos from previous Valentine Card Series in case you'd like to keep watching. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I hope you had a good one, and I'll see you soon in another video. Bye-bye.